Good morning, everyone. So I'm just going to wait just for a few more minutes for some more people to get into the webinar. So after that, we can go ahead and get started. I did also want to mention that there is a language choice for this webinar. So at the bottom of your screen, you will see a Zoom toolbar. And to the right, there will be a picture of a globe that is labeled interpretation. So if you click interpretation and select the language you would like to hear the webinar in, and it looks like this icon right here. And then please note, if you do not select the language, you will not be able to hear the webinar.
Hello. You can also use interpretation if you're a Spanish user. Ahora voy a dar las instrucciones en español por si quieren utilizar interpretación. Hola, mi nombre es Cristian Restrepo y estamos acompañados de mi colega Flora y hoy vamos a ser sus intérpretes. Si ustedes están en una computadora, seleccione el botón que dice interpretación en los controles que están en la parte de abajo de su pantalla y elija español. Si tienen una tableta o un celular, haga clic en los tres puntitos en la inferior derecha de su ventana Zoom, luego en interpretación de idioma y después español. Si no selecciona un idioma, no podrá escuchar al intérprete cuando hable en su lengua. Y recuerden que los Chromebooks no sirven. And please remember that Chromebooks do not have the interpretation enabled. Thank you very much.
All right. So I think we can go ahead and get started with today's webinar. Thank you for everyone for logging in this morning with us. And hopefully you will be more informed about the application process for Durham Pre-K. So I kind of just wanted to go over some webinar housekeeping. So we are recording this webinar. A link to the archive of this webinar will be posted on our website at www.durhamprek.org. And this is a listen-only webinar, so you will be muted while the webinar is in progress. And then you can ask questions by typing them in the Q&A box. And then we will also have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. If you would prefer to ask your question directly to the panelist, please raise your hand and we will allow you to ask your question as well. So for today's agenda, we have introductions, an overview of Durham Pre-K, the required documents needed, the Durham Pre-K application, which includes the walkthrough completing an application, what to expect after submitting an application, site preferences, as well as a walkthrough indicating those site preferences, a notification timeline, and as well at the end, a Q&A. So we are going to do some introductions, and I would like to ask all of our panelists to introduce yourselves in the chat box with your name, your agency, and as well as your role within that agency as well. Durham Pre-K is made possible by funding from Durham County, and Child Care Services is the main administrator of Durham Pre-K in partnership with Durham Partnership for Children, Durham Public Schools, and as well as Families and Communities Rising. So right now we're going to transition to the overview of Durham Pre-K. So Durham Pre-K is Durham's local investment in high quality early childhood experiences. It enhances existing pre-K seats and expands access to all 4-year-olds in Durham County. So children must be 4 on or before August 31st of 2024 and also a resident of Durham County to apply. So Durham Pre-K is free for all families 400% at or below the federal poverty line. And families above this will contribute a sliding scale monthly and parent fees based on income and family size. And so next, I just wanted to show the chart that we have available on our website as well. So on all the way to the left, you will see a gray column, which indicates the family size. The blue column, which indicates the income level for the 400% at or below the FPL. And this blue section indicates that you will have no monthly parent fee. And then this is the cap of fees to the right, which is in green. And then these are those different income levels here. And then for that, we do ask that you provide a 2% monthly parent fee based on this income right here. You will also be able to access this chart right here with this link as well on the Durham Pre-K website. So we are going to be talking about why you should choose pre-K, more so Durham pre-K, so that research shows it increases likelihood of reading on grade level in third grade. It also increases development and use of social skills. And then play-based learning is an effective way for children to learn, to prepare them for kindergarten, and also to develop their social emotional skills as well. So also for our Durham pre-K sites, they are all a five-star childcare center. They also have lead teachers with or working towards their birth to kindergarten license, which is also called a BK license. They also receive weekly technical assistance, which includes coaching and mentoring. So for the Durham pre-K application, it allows families to complete one application to be considered for all publicly funded pre-K seats in Durham County. The different seats in Durham County include Durham Public Schools classrooms, Durham Head Start classrooms, and as well as community-based license programs. So the 2024-2025 application opens on Monday, February 5th at 10 a.m. And the application will be available online on the Durham pre-K website at https://www.durhamprek.org. And then it will be under the Families and Application tab as well. So if you apply by May 12th, that will be able to be considered for all available spaces for the sites. And, and so you must submit a completed application with all of the supporting documents and also complete your online developmental screening by May 12th. And then that is for you to be considered for Durham Public Schools as well. And all other pre-K seats have no deadline to apply. So there is a Durham pre-K screening, which is also called the ASQ. So after you submit your Durham pre-K application, you will be prompted to complete an online developmental screening, the Ages and Stages questionnaire. ASQ is a developmental screening tool used to determine eligibility and placement. So details can be found through the Durham pre-K website again. And so for further questions and assistance regarding the ASQ, please contact Durham_pre-K at dpsnc.net, and they will be able to help you further with that as well. So I'm going to turn it over to our Durham Public Schools panelist. And so they will kind of go more in depth with specifics for Durham Public School sites.
Good morning. My name is Lamisa Cameron. I'm the Universal Preschool Facilitator for Durham Public Schools. And so when it comes to the criteria for Durham Public Schools, completed applications and ages and stages questionnaire screenings, deadline for DPS is May 12th. Eligibility is determined by screenings, and that includes, parent interview and the developmental questionnaire. Children are ranked based on their screening score, and students with the greatest need are placed first with their public schools classrooms. Eligible children are placed in the school closest to their home address. Placements are only made through our Office of Early Learning, and location preferences will be considered, but are not guaranteed. And transportation and before and after school is not offered to our pre-K.
Thank you, Lamisa. All right. So we're gonna talk about what documents you need to move forward with the application. So some of the required documents for Durham pre-K application are gonna be documents that include proof of birth, proof of address, and as well proof of income. So 1 month's worth for an entire household and annual income as well. So other documents may be requested when completing the application. For example, visit the family FAQs on the Durham pre-K website. So we're also going to be going over the different documents you can use for the age, address, and income as well. So specifically for the age, you can use a birth certificate, medical records, or a valid passport. You must provide proof of legal guardianship, legal custodian, or foster care when applicable. And then for the address, you can use a utility bill, energy, water, or gas, a valid lease with a signature, as well as a valid driver's license with a current address, as well as a mortgage statement. And I just want to highlight that if you are living with relatives, the lease or utility bill and a letter stating that the family resides at the address. And please make sure that is also signed and dated as well. And as well for the income, we would like to receive the pay stubs, and please make sure that these are consecutive pay stubs as well. A letter from your employer with an hourly rate listed, signed and dated, just tax information, SNAP benefits, unemployment benefits, child support letter, and then a signed statement of no income, if that applies to you. And then I'm just going to switch this over for our Spanish speaking families to be able to read through them as well. Okay, go ahead and moving forward. So now we're going to be transitioning to the Durham pre-K application walkthrough. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second, and then I'm going to restart it 1 second. All right. So once you go to the Durham pre-K website, you will want to click the Families tab, and then there's a drop-down menu, and the Durham pre-K application you will pick, which is the second one down, and then it will lead you to this page right here that I'm on, and then you will see the 2024-2025 application, and then you would just hit Apply Now. And so after that, you will be redirected to this page right here. And then please read just instructions for this as well. It just kind of goes through like eligibility requirements and what is considered for a child's placement. And we ask for all families that are applying to register for an account, and then if you have not already made one. So with that, you're going to see the screen register box right here. And then it will lead you to this page. And then you would just fill out your first name and your last name, as well as create your email and your password. Once you fill that out, you will be receiving an email from SurveyMonkey to just verify that email address. And we ask all parents to do that and just make sure you verify that email address once that gets sent to you. But since I already had made an account, we're just gonna hit that login button and then log in to the application. So you're gonna see this right here. That showcases all of our applications that we have done. And then we're just gonna go ahead and click on this. And since I already had started, it just says 5 out of 10 tasks complete. So this is what it looks like. It just does an introduction and just more information when going through your application. So next, when you click to further look through your applications, this is what it says. But the first thing that you will see is the eligibility form. When you click on the eligibility form, it states 2 different questions, and it just asks you if your child is a Durham County resident, and then your child's date of birth. And then we just want to make sure that it is within this range for your child to be eligible to apply for Durham Pre-K. And then throughout the application process, we do have very insightful videos that can help you out if you're kind of stuck on a task. And then all of them will kind of be like right here down in the middle, and you just hit play. All right, and so after you finish that eligibility form, you will go over and input your child's information right here. And so I'm just going to edit it for today's purpose. And so we're just kind of going to run through this section of that application. So for your application completion and general child information, it asks you if a agency staff member is filling this out on behalf of a family, and you would either click yes or no. And when this instance is used, you will probably be in a application appointment with someone who's helping you fill out that application. But for today, we're gonna say no. And then for your language preferences, you're either gonna choose English or Spanish or any other language that you do speak, whichever one you prefer. And then we're just gonna keep scrolling down. Make sure you also input your child's date of birth, and as well as your child's name, as well as their address. If we keep scrolling down, we're gonna have the question for child's gender. And then the next one I do want to highlight for is the child, you're a US citizen. So for this, we do want to note that this does not determine your eligibility, but if you leave it blank, it does limit your program's options. And then as we move forward, so we will ask the demographics of your child's race and as well as your child's ethnicity. And then just this box over here is just to check all that apply, and just making sure we're not leaving anything blank on this page. And then after you fill that section out, there's a question for your home language, and then you would just click on whichever one applies to you and your family. The next section is just going to be asking if your child speaks English, and then it has different choices for that as well. And then the next part we're going to be scrolling down to is just about pre-K locations that may offer additional hours beyond the 6.5 hour pre-K day, known as before and after care. These additional hours would be an added cost that families may be responsible for paying. So this just kind of states that not all pre-K locations may offer before and after school care, which is also called wrap care. So it just asks you as well, is the availability of before and after school care at the pre-K location required for your family? And then you would just indicate that right here below. And then this section is just for additional preschool children. Um, each child will need his or own Durham pre-K application. So if you are applying for multiple children this school year, please be sure to indicate the number of children in the question below and that you complete all the tasks and submit the first application. So additional applications will be open for you by our DPK team. And then after that, an email notification will be sent out when the additional applications are open and ready for completion by you. And then you will have the opportunity to reuse that information from the first application without having to re-enter the duplicate information as well. So these are those questions right here. So if you do press yes, you will just answer the questions that pop up, and then you would just need to fill out the other child's information, their first and last name, date of birth, and if you have more than one additional child, you can add another line by checking this box right here. But for today, we are going to be saying no. So that just goes away, as you can see. So for next, it asks for how many parents or guardians of the child is applying for pre-K contribute to the household income. For today, I just put one. And so then after we complete this first task, we want to mark it as complete. We're going to let the site load. And then from when we finished, we see this is a green check mark right here. And by the end, we want all of these dots to be green with a check mark. So next, we're going to move to the uploading of child's proof of age. This section is just going to be stating the different proof of the child's age documents that you can use. I just want to reiterate that you can use your child's birth certificate, a passport, a valid state ID. So for the application address should match the ID address as well. A record of faith initiation, verification of fact sheet, and that should only be submitted if none of the above forms are available. We also do accept a refugee identity certificate as well. And then please translate any documents if they are in a language other than English. And so after you gather all your documents together, below there's a attach file button. And so you could hit this right here, and then it will just pull up your documents either on your computer or phone. And then we can just click a document to upload. And we can click open, and then it uploads right here. And then once it finishes, this is what you would see if you have uploaded a document. Oops. Let me go back to that page. And so after that, you want to mark that as complete. The next part is going to be household information. So I'm going to go back and edit this. So for your household information, you kind of just have to indicate if your family is in any of the following temporary or transitional living situation with friends, family, or in a shelter, car, hotel, and just check all that apply right here. And then, so for today, we're gonna check off not in a temporary or transitional living situation. So next we have our emergency contact information for the child. This does not include the legal guardians. So if you would like to put a emergency contact for your child, you would just press yes, and then this section will pop up right here, and you would just fill out the name and then the relationship to the child and their phone number as well. If you would like to include more than just one emergency contact, you would just click this check mark right here, and then you would put the information of that other emergency contact, and you can also put a third one as well. And just to make sure that these are the contacts that will be contacted if sites can't get a hold of you specifically. Next, we're going to be moving towards the list of all household and family members. So please enter all the information for all individuals living in the household. So this includes applicant child and the parent and guardian. So it asks how many children under the age of 18 live in the household. For today, we're going to say one. And then, so below it just has children and household. You would fill out the name, birthday, the name of the education or program the child is attending, or the relationship to the pre-K child. The next section is just going to be how many adults age 18 and over live in the household. Again, today we're just going to put one, but please fill it out as it applies to your family. And then we're just going to fill out the name, date of birth, and then the relationship to the pre-K child. As well as you can, if there's more than one parent living in the household, that check mark is right here again, just to add another section. So once we finish this, we want to mark it as complete. And we're going to let that load. Sometimes it just takes a second. All right. And then we're going to see that green check mark right here. The next section will just be the primary parent and guardian information. So we're going to go through that section, and then we're going to put the legal guardian number one name, and then you would just fill that out accordingly. And then as well, it's going to ask you if someone's name other than guardian one or two is on the child's birth certificate. For today's purposes, we are going to say no. And then it's going to ask you for your child, or is your address the same as the child's? And we're going to say yes. Next, it asks if we have permission to text you related to your application, placement, and updates. To activate this, please text DPK to 1-833-773-5338, or you can use this link right here to sign up as well. And then the next section would just be, how would you prefer for us to communicate with you regarding questions related to the application? And then for this one, you can just check all that apply. But we're just going to click all three for now. Oh. One second. I'm so sorry. It just went back. Okay. So continuing forward, it's just going to ask for the legal guardian's marital status, and you would just fill that out over here. And then you're going to put the next one is for the legal guardian number 1 relationship to the child. And then we're going to hit mother. And then next, it just goes into the race and ethnicity of that parent or guardian. And then we're just going to click all that apply. And then next, it just asks for the highest level of education completed. And then we're going to select that choice right there. And then it says the primary guardian activities. So please check all that apply. So we're going to check off that they are employed. And then if you do select anything other than that, like a trade or job training, another section will pop up below right here for work and school specifics. So for that, it just asks for the guardian name and then the employer's job or the job name for the employer and the address. And then you make sure you want to indicate the number of hours you're working weekly for that. And then since we did click trade or job training, you just want to indicate those below. And then if we unclick that, that section will disappear. So next, it's just going to be asking for the income sources for that parent or guardian. And then we indicate that you will be required to submit proof for each item checked below. So we're just going to click employment for job 1 for that parent and guardian. And then if you do decide to click anything else like child support or SNAP, more boxes will pop up down below and then it will ask you for frequency of pay. And then you can just click what applies for both. But I'm just going to go ahead and unclick those for now. And then, so with this first one for the employment in job 1, you also want to click the frequency of pay. There's options for weekly, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, and monthly. So we're just going to click what applies. The next question is going to be asking for the primary parent and legal guardian of this child for an active duty member of the military. And then you would just click what applies. And then the second question is just, is there a second parent or guardian in the same home or elsewhere? So after we finish this task, we're going to go ahead and mark it complete again. And then we see that green check mark. So as seen as before for uploading the child's proof of age, we will always have the different documentations listed up here that you can use. And then this one is just for the proof of address. So it highlights the copy of current signed lease, a current mortgage statement, and then a current utility bill, or even a valid NC state ID. And then we also do want to highlight neither cable, internet, nor cell phone bills are accepted form of proof of address. And then we also want to highlight that if the guardian's name is not on the bill or lease, please upload one of the documents listed above from the payee and a signed and dated letter for the payee stating that the family is residing at the address indicated in the application. And then same thing as before, when you attach that file, something on your phone or laptop will pop up and then you just drag or open that file and then it will download to this. But since we haven't uploaded it, we can't mark it as complete. And then if a task is not complete, you will see this half-filled circle. So and then we're going to be moving on to the upload for the primary guardian's proof of annual income. So acceptable documentation can include either of the following. It's just copy of all W-2s from 2023 and then IRS 1040 form. This must include the signature page as well. The last check stub from 2023 for each employed parent, step parent, or guardian. And then if you are self-employed or did not work in 2023, use this statement of no documentation of income. So if you click this, it would lead you to that document that you would need to fill out that you can use. And then same as before, attach file. The next one is just going to be the primary guardian's job one, proof of bi-monthly income. But if you are paid differently, like weekly or semi-monthly, it will just change. And for today's purpose, since we click bi-monthly, you will need to upload 2 consecutive pay stubs for the most recent month in which you were paid. So if you were paid weekly, you would need to provide 4 consecutive pay stubs. And then if you were just paid monthly, you would just need that 1 pay stub. And it does have to be the most recent one. If you are self-employed or if you get paid in cash, use the statement of no documentation income form. When you click this link, please download the form, complete and sign it, and then click attach to upload. The next section we're going to be going through is just for the child's health information. So for this first section, it just asks you if the child is potty trained. And then does the child have health insurance would be the next one. And then as we scroll down, we're just going to fill out the insurance information and then what county it's in. And then so it asks, does the child have a primary doctor or pediatrician? And then you just want to indicate that right here. And then you would just type in what your child's primary doctor or pediatrician is, as well as you would do the same for the dentist option as well. Keep scrolling down. You see a section where it says, that, does the child have a chronic health condition? And then you would just answer that accordingly. And then the next one is just asking for your child's IEP plans, or if your child does or does not have one. So for instance, today we're just going to be saying, no, my child does not have either of the above plans, and there is no developmental concerns. But if your answer were different, just answer accordingly again. The next section is just going to be, does the child receive special services? For example, speech therapy. For today, we're going to say yes. And then right here, you kind of want to clarify what kind of services and who provides these services in this box below. And then we're just going to go ahead and mark this section complete. And we can just look through again just to check everything is correct and that there are no errors. And then this is what it will end up looking like with the check mark and the gray boxes. The next section is just going to be the child's education and childcare information. And I do want to reiterate that if you need assistance uploading your documents, please reach out to 1-833-773-5338. And then alternatively, documents can be emailed to our secure email at prek@childcareservices.org or mailed and dropped off to our office, which is right here. So this section is just going to be highlighting the child's education information. And then, so right here, it just says, is the child receiving childcare financial assistance? And then you just want to click yes or no. Further, it's just going to be talking about, is the child on a wait list for childcare financial assistance? And then just answer that accordingly. And then for current childcare arrangement, is the child currently enrolled in a preschool or a childcare program? So if you do say yes, a section will pop up, and then you have to indicate the type of care your child currently receives. So there's different choices such as family and friend, child care center, or a child care home. And then it just specifically asks you for the program name or the family or friends. And then this section is saying if you've indicated that your child is currently enrolled in a program, please choose one of the following right here. And then for the current program or address, you would just type that in, as well as the date of attendance at the start and then date of attendance ending. And then please enter today's month and year if you are currently attending that school still or child care service. But right now, we're just going to hit no. And when we hit no, it does go away. So the next part, it just asks for the previous child care arrangement within the past 3 years. And then if you click yes, the same section pops up and you would just indicate that information as well. And then this is what it just looks like. And then, so we're going to say no. And then once we fill everything out and everything looks correct, we are just going to go ahead and mark that as complete. The next section is just going to be the child screening information. All of this screening information is due by May 12th of this year. And then Durham PreK will use the developmental screening tool Ages to Stages questionnaire, which is also called our ASQ, to be completed by the parents or legal guardians of each applicant child. So the ASQ must be completed online by a parent or legal guardian of each applicant. And then the link is also provided here. So if we go ahead and click on that link, it opens up to a different tab and it brings you straight to the ASQ questionnaire. And then you would just fill this out accordingly. And then once you're finished, you can also hit submit. So after a completed application, all required documents in the ASQ must be submitted by May 12th for priority placement. The ASQ will be used to determine eligibility for the Durham Public Schools pre-K program. So for this, you should also set aside 30 to 45 minutes to answer the questionnaire, as some activities must be completed with your child. If you need further information and details, you can click right here and it will just lead you to this document with more information regarding the questionnaire as well. It will just go more in depth with that. And then if you keep scrolling down, we also have it translated in Spanish for our Spanish speaking families. And so we can go ahead and click off of there. So if you do need any further assistance for the ASQ screening, you would just follow these instructions right here. There are in-person screening appointments available for an options for families with limited internet access or those who have difficulty completing the ASQ. If you are in need of an appointment, you may email Durham PreK at dpsnc.net and make sure you also indicate that there is a underscore here. And then if you need more additional information, you would also put the appointment request form as well, if you need that. And if you click that, it will load, and then it will bring you to this page right here for the Durham Public Schools pre-K. And then you would just fill this out accordingly again. And this is strictly for help with the ASQ screening. So once we finish with that, we can also mark it as complete. But if we haven't, please do not mark it as complete. And there was another button at the bottom where it says save and continue. And then lastly, we're going to be going to the certifications and acknowledgements. So for the certifications and acknowledgements, I'm not going to be reading through everything since it is a lot, but there are different check boxes that you do have to read through and check off once you have read those statements. One statement that I do kind of want to highlight on this page would be, scroll down, is this one right here. So this check mark just has, I understand that transportation to and from pre-K programs is not available and is the responsibility of my family. And then all of these other statements, just make sure you read through thoroughly and check off as you go. And then after you read and check mark all of those, please provide your electronic signature. And then this can be used with your mouse, trackpad, or touchscreen to complete the signature section. And then after that, you just type in the name of the parent guardian as well as the date. And then we can go ahead and mark that as complete. And then we see that green check mark, and then everything is filled out and read and checked off. And so once we have finished everything, this whole section should be all green with a check mark. So every dot should have a check mark and be green. There should not be any half-filled ones, and there should not be any unfilled dots either. So after we have finished that, this button right here, the submit button, will turn green. And when that submit button turns green, we are going to hit submit. And please make sure you hit submit on this application for it to be verified and put through our system. And it will be in the process of review after that. So again, I do want to reiterate, please hit submit at the end of your application when you fill everything out. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen real quick. And then we are going to be transitioning to what to expect after submitting an application. So for notifications, all notifications are sent via email. So it is very important that families verify their email after applying. And then a few things you may receive an email about. There will be the missing documents, your application moving forward in our review process, completing your site preferences, and placement. So phone calls will only be made from our Durham Pre-K help desk if we are unable to reach a family via email. No placement notifications will be made over the phone as well. So these are kind of the steps to take after you fill out that application. So the first one we would recommend is to verify your account through SurveyMonkey Apply to receive notifications and updates on your application. So phone calls from the Durham Pre-K Help Desk will only be made if we aren't able to reach you via email. The second thing is to enter no reply at surveymonkeyapply.com into your email contacts to make sure our emails are not labeled as junk. The third thing is just to sign up to receive text messages from our DPK team to receive updates about the application process and upcoming events. So text message will alert families when the placement has begun and then what is happening with the applications at the moment and just etc. To sign up, please text DPK to 1-833-773-5338. Next, we're just going to be talking about just site preferences. So for the site list, a current list of our pre-K sites is available on the Durham Pre-K website under families and site locations. This is a site selection year, so please revisit the page in April before selecting your preferences when sites are finalized. And then some sites may have virtual tours available on our website. And we also strongly encourage you to schedule a tour at any of our sites by calling the site directly. All right. Next, we're just going to be talking about wrap care again. So this is just care outside of that 6.5-hour preschool day. And then again, it is called wraparound care. Wraparound care is a separate service from preschool. So not every site will offer wrap care, and it will be an additional cost to families. So we also want to mention that subsidy or scholarship assistance may be available for qualifying families and seats, and as well as a list of our pre-K sites that currently offer wrap care and their hours is available at the bottom of our site locations page. So again, we're just going to go back to site preferences. For this, you will receive an email notification when you are able to provide your top 3 site preferences. So for this, each family will receive an individualized list that will only include sites that they are eligible for. So if you want to learn more about the eligibility requirements of each program, please go ahead and visit the Durham Pre-K website. And there should be a tab for program types and eligibility. Site preferences are considered, but are not guaranteed for Durham Pre-K. So just continuing with site preferences, They must be completed within 5 days of receiving the notification. And then applications where site preferences are not indicated within the 5 days will automatically be moved on to the next step of the process. So an application without site preferences indicated will be placed within a 10-mile radius of their home address. If you miss your 5-day deadline, call the help desk for assistance. And as well as we want to reiterate again that transportation is not provided through the Durham PreK program. And then I would just want to switch it off to Lamicia as well for the DPS site preferences.
Hello again. When it comes to the DPS site preferences, while you are able to indicate Durham Public Schools pre-K's program as your site preference, you are not able to indicate a specific DPS site location. For example, you're not able to indicate that you prefer Burton Elementary. DPS sites are not guaranteed. And just as a reminder, students are ranked based on screening scores, and students with the greatest need are placed first.
Thank you, Lisa. All right. And then after this, we can go ahead and move forward. So we're going to be talking about the notification timeline. So right now, application opens February 5th, 2024 at 10 a.m. So after submitting your application, the application is moving through our pre-K review process, and then the parents will receive email notifications as the application moves through the process, and or if there is any missing documentation with your application. So make sure you submit a complete application in the ASQ screening to be considered for all of the seats in Durham Pre-K. And this deadline is May 12th, 2024. And the application is under review until placement begins, unless you hear from our staff that you are missing any of the required documents. Okay, so then we're just going to be going through the different rounds of the notification timeline. So the first round of notifications will be in early June, and then all of these will be sent via email. If you do not receive a placement, application remains under review. Our second round will be in late June. Again, if you do not receive a placement, this just means that application remains under review. And then there is a rolling notification until all the seats are filled. And then we do want to state that the first day of school for this school year is going to be August 26th of 2024. So we are going to be doing our question and answers right now. And I also want to open up to our panelists to be able to answer any of the questions directly for Durham Pre-K, as well as for our FCR Head Start sites and for DPS as well. So I also want to ask if there are any questions in the question and A box that have not been answered, but it looks like most of them have been answered throughout the webinar. I'm gonna stop my screen share real quick. Okay, there is a question I would like to highlight in the chat box that I would like to open up to our panelists. It states that, can I specify I would like a year-round school?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Karen Thompson, Director of Office of Early Education for Durham Public Schools. Currently, there is not an area on the application that specifies choices for our programs. We typically just place students based on their address and location, based on the address that's submitted with the application.
Thank you, Karen.
Karen and Lamisa, there are some questions regarding the magnet schools. Are you able to provide any other information on that? Or the link where those applications are available? It is a completely separate application process outside of the Durham Pre-K application. I know the information is available on the DPS website. I don't have the exact link.
I don't have the exact link. I was trying to read through the questions, but I also saw parents were asking, there's a parent asking, how will they know? The information for the lottery comes out sometime in March. So, they were asking how would they know if they got accepted? That information comes out in March, if you're accepted in the lottery or not.
I also wanted to highlight a question where a parent asked if they submitted a application for a magnet school for DPS. Does that mean that um, their application will be considered for Durham Pre-K?
Yes.
And they also, or
If you
specifically, oh, sorry, Jenna. Specifically, they said if I submitted a magnet application for a pre-K program with DPS, would that be considered?
I'm not exactly sure what that question is asking. If you complete a Durham Pre-K application in addition to the magnet school application, you will be considered for both. And then you'll have an option if you are offered placements at both, you can choose which to attend. So I hope that answers the question.
And it looks like Jen has raised their hand, so I'm gonna allow them to talk in the webinar.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me just fine? So my question, I typed in the question about the separate applications for I have an older student in Little River already. So I have one entering pre-K. Now, do I need to enter a a Durham pre-K application and then separately a magnet program application for pre-K? But it seems like the timelines are flip-flopped on those because the magnet applications are already going, and then the Durham pre-K applications are not they're not starting review until in May. So just some clarification on how that process will work. Also noting that we are zoned for Little River.
So I guess I was trying to understand you. So the the Durham Public Schools Montessori pre-K application, I guess that's what you're asking about for Little River, is a
Yes.
separate application versus the Durham pre-K application. They are
Okay.
two separate applications.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
so fill out the Durham pre-K and then my question, they're flip-flopped because right now the application for Montessori is live for the Montessori track that's starting at Little River next year.
Correct.
But I won't know if I get Little River as a Durham pre-K site until May, or right? So I won't know that until May, but I have to, so would I be able to fill out the application for the Montessori program before I know if I'm accepted into the Durham pre-K and get Little River as a location?
So right now, the Montessori with Durham Public Schools, the Montessori pre-K program, that is live. And I want to say the results for that comes out sometime. I'm gonna say March. I'm not exactly sure what the dates are. But you're correct. Any slots that are through the traditional preschool program, Durham pre-K, you will not find out that information until May, early June. That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That answers my question.
All right, is there any other questions in the chat box that should be highlighted? All right, someone has raised their hand again, so I will let them speak. Just give me 1 second. All right, and then Angel, you are unmuted now.
Good morning. I just had a question about, so I also did the application for the Montessori school, and then was recently notified that the school I applied for the Montessori will now be in my district with the rezone. So if I do not, or if my child is not placed in that school via the Montessori application, will she still be considered for that school from like just a DPS application?
That is a question that are you saying DPS as in school or DPS as in preschool?
Preschool.
Preschool. It depends on if we have a program at that specific school. Because we don't have preschool programs at all of our elementary schools.
Okay, so but so when I applied with the Montessori application though for preschool, so does that mean they don't necessarily have a pre-K program?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
What it means is the Montessori programs do pre-K to K. They start all of their programs pre-K to K. They might not necessarily have just a freestanding preschool classrooms.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And if you wanted to call the Office of Early Education, it's 919-560-3505. Just to verify if the school has a freestanding preschool program, you're welcome to do that.
Okay, thank you so much.
So I do want to mention, since there was questions about the link for the magnet school application for DPS, the website is just going to be www.dpsnc.net/magnet. Does anyone else have any more questions for the panelist? You can either go ahead and type those questions out, or you can go ahead and raise your hand and ask that. There is a question, just for clarification. The preference for a DPS site should be indicated as one of the three preferences.
If you want placement at a DPS site, then yes, you can select that as one of your site preferences. Again, we can't select individual schools, but there is an option if your family is eligible for placement at DPS. So that is something else to clarify. You will only see sites on your site preference drop-down list that your family is eligible for. So that's why you receive those notifications after your application has been reviewed by PreK Partners, because your eligibility has to be determined first. So if you do see Durham Public Schools pre-K classroom on your drop-down list, you can select that as a preference. You can select it for all three preferences if you want. If you only want to be considered for placement at DPS, you can select that again for all three of your site preferences, but that is going to limit your options because the placement team is not going to offer you placement at another site outside of DPS if you have selected that for all three preferences. So I hope that answers that. The question that is currently in the Q&A, we cannot answer that question because that is a separate application system or a separate application process that you're referring to. So that is outside of the Durham pre-K application.
There is a question for when is the information session in May? So for May, our information session will be on May 4th, but we have not finalized the time yet. But as soon as we finalize the time and location for that information session, an email will be sent out regarding all of the details and time and place for that. There is a question stating that if our child is already at a pre-K site, will we get preferential placement for our child to stay there?
Good afternoon, good morning still. Yes, so you will be asked if you want to be considered to remain at your current location for the pre-K year, or if you want to be considered for other options. Also, when you receive your site preference list, you will be able to indicate that particular site. You can indicate it either once as your top choice or all three choices if you don't want to be considered for other options. If you are eligible for placement in the pre-K program at that site.
Is there any more questions?
I just want to lift out clarification. If you are determined eligible for the Durham Public Schools pre-K program and you receive your list of sites to choose from for site preferences, it is only going to indicate Durham Public Schools. You will not be able to specify a specific Durham Public School that you want to attend. You will be able to indicate if your child has siblings at another school or something to that nature. However, that does not guarantee that your pre-K child will be placed at that same school. And it also it is taken into consideration, but it is not a guarantee at all. But you would not be able to just outright indicate, I want to attend Spring Valley, Oak Grove, and Lions Farm.
All right. I think if there's no more live questions, I'm going to keep going forward just with the presentation, just for more additional information. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. All right, so I do want to highlight our Durham Pre-K Help Desk. And this is just going to be the phone number you would call and then the email you would like to contact for the following. This is just for scheduling a virtual or in-person application appointment starting this month. Next is just going to be asking questions about the application process, asking questions about what documents are needed for the application process. If you just need more support completing the application in a language other than English or Spanish, or just emailing or texting missing documents for your application.
I'm sorry, MJ, if I could just briefly interject, there was a question in the Q&A box about making updates to the application after it has been submitted. If you need support with regard to that, also reach out to the Pre-K Help Desk via the phone number or the email for that support.
Thank you, Jamika. All right. So for application appointments, they will be available starting in February. Families can choose between in-person or virtual appointments. There's limited evening appointments that are available. And then how to schedule an appointment is either by calling the number, texting, or emailing this email right here. All right. And so join us for another Durham Pre-K family information session in late spring or early summer. I do want to say that will be on May 4th, and further information regarding that will be sent out a little bit later once we just finalize that timing and where it will be again. So for our next session, we will cover transition to pre-K, placement notifications, a typical day in pre-K. And if you have any suggestions for our next info session, please be sure to complete our survey to let us know your thoughts and topics you would like to discuss. A follow-up email after this webinar has ended will be sent out to all of our participants, as well as the link with the recorded session. So please be out on the lookout for that in your email as well. And then we just want to thank everyone for coming today. And then just visit our website for more information and for the online application. This is just for the phone number again. And then we do want to mention that please join us for our roll up and enroll on March 16th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then again, I would like to reiterate, just complete the survey you receive in an email along with the recording to the link. All right. Thank you everyone for coming today.